Hey everyone, this is Katie Daviscourt reporting for Rebel News on the ground in Arizona, giving you all the latest update on the state's midterm election chaos here in Maricopa County, which is right behind me. But before I get started, head on over to watchingarizona.com where you can see all of our exclusive coverage of Arizona's midterm elections.
I hope Kerry gets it. But without transparency, and when your opponents own the media and the machines, you're at their mercy.
With hundreds of thousands of ballots left to be counted in Maricopa County, there still remains to be a clear winner for any race, both federally and at the state level. Officials are accusing Maricopa County of counting Democrat-heavy precinct ballots first in order to try to get rid of Republican gubernatorial candidate and frontrunner Kari Lake to concede, but Lake announced that she will not be conceding until every legal vote has been counted.
And we need people who are competent running our elections. This incompetency or maladministration is outrageous. And I think the good thing is that more people are waking up to the fact that Arizona has real troubles when it comes to elections. But I'm willing to wait until every vote is counted. I think every candidate should wait until every vote is counted.
Well, when will that be? When do you expect some answers here?
Well, we've got people very wishy-washy. They said Monday, and then I heard them say maybe Tuesday, well, perhaps Wednesday. You know, I think we just have to wait and let these guys get their act together and count them.
The race has not yet been called for governor of Arizona, but decision desks in mainstream media are predicting that Lake's opponent, Katie Hobbs, will be the next governor of Arizona. Since Kari Lake is currently trailing by a small margin, conservative politicians and commentators say that Lake still has a chance, as the majority of ballots left to be counted are reportedly from Republican-heavy precincts.
Several of the drops today show strong performance by the Republican candidates. In Yuma County, we've been outperforming significantly. That's a heavy Latino population county by 6 points compared to 2020. And so overall, the trend is very good. So it's a nail biter.
But your point is that the ballots that are expected to be coming in now are less favorable percentage-wise to her than they are to Kari Lake. Because for people out there watching tonight, you know, they're ready for Thanksgiving and Christmas. None of any of this makes sense. They don't understand why this is taking so long. They don't get it. And frankly, they're annoyed by it.
Now, it is important to mention that Katie Hobbs, Lake's opponent, is also Arizona's Secretary of State who oversees the state's elections and has refused to recuse herself from her position, which has only added further speculation. As for Republican Senate candidate Blake Masters, he also announced that he will not concede to his Democrat opponent, Mark Kelly, who was named winner by mainstream media earlier this week, until every legal vote has been counted in Maricopa County. Now, Maricopa County has been at the height of national headlines since Election Day on Tuesday, when people went to vote, only to be told by poll workers that the machines were down.
I don't even believe I
We are at this location and their voting machines are not working properly. They don't count the ballots. You go in to register, they give you a ballot, which takes like 20 minutes, which is ridiculous. You go in, you do your voting, you go in, you give it into the machine, and it won't take it. It says misread ballot. Every single person in there is getting a misread ballot.
Machine malfunctions reportedly happened at more than 26 polling locations within Maricopa County.
So what happens is we have two tabulators. One of the tabulators is not working, okay? The other tabulator is taking about 75% successful. So 25% of them are being misread, and it could be a printer issue, or it could be the tabulator itself. So when it's misread, you have an option to put it into what's called box 3, and it gets read, whether it goes downtown and gets read manually, or whether it gets refed into our tabulator.
You don't want to adjudicate.
They get read, okay?
On election night, lawyers requested for polling centers to stay open later since the machines malfunctioning disenfranchised thousands of voters. However, a judge denied those requests, leaving Republican voters infuriated as the majority of Republicans don't participate in early mail-in voting, but rather they tend to show up in person on election day.
Tabulators aren't working. They told me to put my ballot into a box and they would drive it downtown to count it. This is not normal stuff. We don't have to have elections run this way. We switched from a Republican area to vote. We came right down into the heart of liberal Phoenix to vote because we wanted to make sure that we had good machines. And guess what? They've had zero problems with their machines today. Not one machine spit out a ballot here today.
Maricopa County Chairman Bill Gates, who is a Republican, has made controversial statements in the past about Republican candidates having to lose elections in order to get them to stop with conspiracies surrounding the integrity of the county's elections. But anyone with two sets of eyes can see that the failures in Maricopa County only add fuel to the so-called conspiracies.
Board and the recorder run elections here in Maricopa County as a team, and we're very excited about how things are going today on Election Day. We had all 223 vote centers have opened. We've already had over 45,000 people who have checked in and already voted today. We did want to come out and discuss one issue that's going on out there in about 20% of the vote centers. Again, we have 223 vote centers across the county. In about 20% of those, when people will go and they try and run the ballot through this tabulator, maybe 1 out of every 5 or so of those ballots, they're not going through.
In the most recent press brief, Bill Gates said that they are currently undergoing a mandatory hand count, which should be able to demonstrate if the machines are doing an accurate job.
And this mandatory hand count will be able to demonstrate to all of us whether the machines are doing an accurate job. And remember, who's involved in this mandatory hand count? It's Republicans and Democrats having eyeballs on everything, participating in it to ensure that the machines are working the way that they should.
The entire world was watching Maricopa County's incompetence during the 2020 presidential election, and now the same thing is playing out in 2022. Arizona voters who are infuriated with the way Maricopa County is handling the election protested outside the election center over their lack of transparency. They question why Florida, who has a much higher population than Arizona, is able to determine the outcome of their elections on election night, but Arizona can't seem to do the same.
Long for a small state, Arizona's 7 million population, to count their votes, where a much larger state like Florida, 21 million, can count them all in one night. And we've seen people count hand ballots in a single day like they do in France. We want to get back to that system here in America where we count ballots at the precinct level, not in one of these big centers, because every one of the ballots that ends up here has been touched by 6 human hands. So there is an opportunity for fraud. We're not saying it's definitive. We just want to make sure it doesn't occur in our free and fair elections.
Arizona's elections are starting to resemble a third world country's as the county erected fencing around the property, which is being manned by armed police officers.
Out here at the Maricopa Elections Office, more Penske trucks coming in, apparently delivering ballots.
There is even a drone flying above the premises surveilling the public. Head on over to our website, watchingarizona.com, where you can keep up with our coverage, and please consider donating even just $1 or $2 to help cover our modest travel costs. We rely 100% on crowdfunding since we refuse to take a dime from the government. That way we can stay uncorrupted. Now, if you appreciate what we are doing here in Arizona, I'm so excited to be here. Again, follow our reporting at watchingarizona.com.